Let me tell you something. Success doesn't begin at the office. It doesn't begin in the marketplace. It begins the moment you open your eyes in the morning. The way you spend the first hour of your day is like setting the sail of your ship. If you set it right, the winds of life will take you far. But if you leave it to chance, you'll drift, you'll wander, and the day will control you instead of you controlling the day. So today, I want to share with you 5 simple morning habits. They may look small, but done consistently, they have the power to change your life forever. They say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And nowhere is this more true than in the way you begin your day. The first hour of your morning is the seedbed of everything that follows. If you win that first hour, chances are you're going to win the day. But if you stumble into it carelessly, checking your phone, rushing around, reacting to every little thing, you've already given away your power before the day has even begun. Think about it. The morning is your chance to decide, will this day be a day of discipline or a day of regret? Will it be a day of order or a day of chaos? See, life has a way of testing us every day. And if you don't set the tone early, life will set it for you, and usually it won't be in your favor. When I was younger, I didn't understand this. I used to treat mornings as something to endure, not something to master. I'd wake up late, I'd rush through breakfast, I'd scramble just to get out the door on time. And you know what? My days felt just like my mornings, rushed, sloppy, out of control. It wasn't until I realized that the first hour is a mirror of the whole day that things began to change. One of the most valuable lessons I learned is this: discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. The discipline of waking up a little earlier, of controlling that first hour, that's just an ounce. But the regret of looking back at a day wasted, or a goal neglected, or an opportunity missed, that's the ton. And every morning gives you the choice: will I carry the ounce, or will I carry the ton? Winning the first hour doesn't mean you need to do something extraordinary. You don't have to climb a mountain or write a book before breakfast. It simply means doing the right things in the right order with the right spirit. Maybe it's reading a few pages of a good book. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's sitting in silence and thinking about what matters most. The point isn't what you do. The point is that you do it with intention. Here's what happens when you claim your morning. You set a rhythm. Success, after all, is nothing more than a few disciplines practiced every day. And when you begin the day with discipline, it's like planting a flag in the ground that says, I'm in charge today. That attitude follows you into every meeting, every conversation, every challenge. I remember a gentleman who once told me, I just don't have time in the morning. He said his schedule was too tight, his life too busy. But after a little conversation, we found the real problem wasn't time, it was priorities. He was giving his first hour away to the television, to the phone, to the noise of the world. And I told him, if you don't run the first hour of your day, someone else will. He changed his habits, and within months, his productivity doubled. Not because he worked harder, but because he started smarter. The morning is also where confidence is built. When you keep a promise to yourself first thing in the day, you walk with a different posture. You say, I told myself I'd do this, and I did. That's strength. That's integrity, and it shows up in the way you handle the rest of life. Of course, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when the bed feels warmer than your goals, when the pillow feels softer than your ambitions. But let me tell you, those are the days that matter most. Because success doesn't belong to those who do what's easy. It belongs to those who do what's necessary, even when it's hard. And if you can win against yourself in that first hour, you've already won the toughest battle of the day. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, ask yourself, will I drift? Or will I direct? Will I stumble or will I stand tall? Because in that choice lies the secret. Win the first hour and you win the day. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it, that's what grows. If you plant weeds, don't be surprised when weeds take over. If you plant seeds of wisdom, discipline, and vision, then you'll harvest a life full of direction and strength. And the best time to plant those seeds is in the morning, before the noise of the world begins to invade. Most people wake up and immediately hand over their minds to everyone else. They grab the phone, scroll through messages, emails, social media. Before they've even stood up straight, their thoughts are being shaped by other people's problems, other people's complaints, other people's agendas. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, why they feel scattered, why their day is running them instead of the other way around. The truth is, if you don't feed your mind something valuable in the morning, the world will feed it junk by default. I remember when I first started to change this habit, I made a simple decision: no phone, no news, no outside noise, until I had first given something to myself. At first, it wasn't easy. I was used to waking up and reaching for that little device by my bed. But I realized every time I did that, I was starting the day by surrendering control. So instead, I began with a book. Just 10 or 15 minutes of something uplifting, something that made me think, something that made me stronger. And the effect was almost immediate. I walked into my day feeling centered, not scattered. Feeding your mind in the morning is like putting on armor. Life is going to throw challenges at you. Negative people, unexpected problems, distractions. If you walk into the day unprepared, it's easy to get knocked off balance. But if you've already filled your mind with good ideas, with wisdom, with strength, you can handle the storms. They don't shake you as easily. One of my favorite things to do in the morning is to review my goals. Not just read them, but really think about them, imagine them. Remind myself why they matter. Because if you don't remind yourself of your purpose, the world will happily give you one. And usually it's to help someone else build their dream while you neglect your own. That's why the morning is sacred. It's your chance to set the direction before the world pulls you in 1,000 directions. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying ignore the world. I'm saying prepare for it. Strengthen your mind before you let the noise in. If you put your own values, your own vision, your own strength into your mind first, then when you face the noise later, you won't get lost in it. You'll be grounded. It doesn't take much time. People think they need hours. No, just a few minutes of reading a good book, writing down a few thoughts, listening to something that challenges you. That's enough to shift the entire course of your day. It's not about how long, it's about consistency. Do it every day, and pretty soon you'll notice a difference. You'll notice you're calmer, more focused, more resilient. I once had a young man tell me, "But I'm not a reader." And I told him, "That's fine. But you are a thinker. So think, sit quietly for a few minutes and think about your life. Think about where you're going. Think about what matters. Because if you don't think for yourself, someone else will do the thinking for you. And I promise you, they won't have your best interest in mind. Your mind is your greatest asset. Protect it. Invest in it. Don't give the best part of your morning to noise, to gossip, to distraction. Give it to wisdom, to reflection, to growth. Because what you put in your mind determines what comes out in your life. So tomorrow, before you pick up that phone, before you open the door to the world, ask yourself, what seeds am I planting in my mind today? Because whatever you plant in the morning, you will surely harvest in the evening. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned is that the body and the mind are not separate, they're partners. When the body moves, the mind wakes up. When the body is sluggish, the mind becomes dull. And too many people begin their day with a sluggish body, then wonder why their thoughts are cloudy, their focus is weak, and their energy is gone by midday. The truth is, if you want to sharpen your mind, you've got to first move your body. You don't need to be an athlete. You don't need to run a marathon. What you do need is movement. Stretch, walk, exercise, anything that gets the blood flowing, the lungs filling, the heart pumping. Because when the body wakes up, energy flows into every other area of your life. And energy is the currency of achievement. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't have the energy to act on them, they're useless. I'll tell you a story. I once worked with a gentleman who was brilliant, sharp, creative, full of ideas. But every day by 10 a.m., he looked exhausted. He'd sit at his desk yawning, dragging himself from one task to another. When I asked him about his mornings, he told me he skipped breakfast, he rushed straight to work, and the only exercise he got was walking from his car to the office. I said, "That's like trying to drive a car on fumes." I encouraged him to do just 10 minutes of movement every morning, not an hour, just 10 minutes. Stretch, push-ups, a walk around the block. Within weeks, he was a different man. His energy doubled, his focus sharpened, and he told me, "It feels like my mind finally works the way it was meant to." The body was the missing link. See, discipline with the body builds discipline with the mind. If you can make yourself sweat in the morning, if you can push through the discomfort, you're teaching yourself a powerful lesson. I can do what I said I would do. And that sense of victory, that discipline carries into everything else. You face the rest of your day with more confidence because you've already proven to yourself that you can win against laziness. Now, some people say, I just don't have time. But here's the truth. You don't have time not to. If you lose your energy, you lose your productivity. And when you lose your productivity, you lose your opportunities. Just 15 minutes of exercise can give you back hours of clarity and focus later in the day. It's one of the best investments you'll ever make. And here's another benefit. Moving your body in the morning clears away stress. You release tension. You shake off the heaviness of yesterday. You begin fresh. That's why people who exercise regularly don't just look healthier. They think healthier, they decide healthier, they live healthier. Because movement is medicine. I used to think success was all about what I knew. But I've discovered it's just as much about how much energy I can bring to what I know. And energy doesn't just happen by accident. You have to create it. You create it by moving your body, by fueling it, by respecting it. This body is the only vehicle you've got to carry you through life. Take care of it, and it will take you further than you ever imagined. Neglect it, and even the best plans will stall. I want you to think about this every morning. You have two choices. You can move your body and unlock the energy that will carry you through the day, or you can stay still and carry the weight of fatigue, sluggishness, and distraction. One choice builds momentum, the other steals it. So, tomorrow morning, don't just wake up, get up and move. Because when you move your body, you move your energy. And when you move your energy, you move your life. One of the greatest mistakes people make is starting their day without a plan. They wake up, they move around, they get busy, and before they know it, the hours are gone. Busy, yes. Productive, no. Activity is not the same as achievement. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're moving forward. The difference lies in clarity. And clarity comes when you take a few quiet minutes in the morning to decide how the day will unfold. I've met people who seem to work all the time, yet they don't get much done. They chase after every little distraction, respond to every little request, and at the end of the day, they wonder why nothing important moved forward. The reason is simple. If you don't plan the day will plan you. Someone else's priorities, someone else's emergencies, someone else's noise will run your schedule. But if you take charge early, you decide what matters and you steer the day instead of being steered by it. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I would wake up and go straight into work. No thought, no preparation, just reaction. And it felt like I was fighting fires all day long. Then I learned the power of sitting down each morning with a pen and a piece of paper. Just 5 or 10 minutes asking myself, what must be done today? What is essential? What will move me forward? That little habit changed everything. It gave me control. It gave me focus, and it gave me peace, because even if the day threw surprises at me, I knew the direction I was heading. Planning doesn't need to be complicated. It's not about filling every second of your calendar or micromanaging your life. It's about identifying the vital few things that matter most. Success doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things consistently. And when you begin the morning by identifying those right things, you walk into the day with power instead of pressure. I remember meeting a young man who told me he was constantly overwhelmed. He said, "There's too much to do, and I never feel like I'm catching up." I asked him if he planned his days, and he admitted he didn't. So I gave him a challenge every morning: write down just 3 things, not 30, not 10, 3. 3 things that, if done, would make the day worthwhile. He came back weeks later with a smile on his face. He said, "I feel lighter, more focused, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm making real progress." That's the power of clarity. It doesn't add weight, it removes it. And let me tell you, planning in the morning doesn't just organize your day, it sharpens your decisions. When you know where you're heading, it's easier to say no to distractions. It's easier to recognize when something doesn't serve your goals. Most people don't lack time, they lack direction. Give a person direction and suddenly, the hours they already have multiply in value. Another benefit of planning is that it builds confidence. When you've thought through your priorities, when you've written them down, you feel in control. You approach the day with calm authority instead of nervous energy. And that confidence shows. People notice it. They trust you more. They rely on you more. Why? Because clarity is magnetic. Of course, no plan is perfect. Life will always surprise you. There will be interruptions, setbacks, unexpected challenges. But here's the key: when you've taken a few minutes to anchor yourself in the morning, Those surprises don't throw you off as easily. You adjust, you adapt, but you don't drift. You stay on course because you know what matters most. So take those few minutes. Don't rush blindly into the day. Sit down, breathe, think, and write. Decide what matters. Because clarity is the foundation of achievement. Without it, you'll drift. With it, you'll direct. And remember this, a few minutes of planning in the morning can save you hours of wasted effort in the evening. There's a secret to beginning the day with strength, and it doesn't come from coffee, it doesn't come from energy drinks. It comes from gratitude. The simple act of stopping for a moment to say, I am thankful. Thankful for life, thankful for health, thankful for another chance to try again. Gratitude is the foundation of abundance, because when you begin with appreciation, life seems to give you more things to appreciate. Too many people rush into the day focused on what they don't have, what's missing, what's wrong. They wake up already complaining, already stressed, already chasing. And the problem is, whatever you focus on expands. If you start the morning focused on lack, lack will follow you. If you start focused on problems, problems will multiply. But if you start with gratitude, you put your attention on blessings, and blessings tend to grow. I remember talking with a man who was successful by almost every measure, wealth, career influence, but he told me he still felt empty. Every day, he woke up thinking about what he hadn't achieved yet, what he hadn't bought yet, what he hadn't become yet. I said, no wonder you're exhausted. You're starting every day from a place of emptiness instead of fullness. I encouraged him to write down 3 things every morning that he was thankful for, just 3. He thought it was too simple, almost silly, but he tried it. Weeks later, he told me, it's like my eyes opened for the first time. I began to notice the things I had been overlooking, my family, my health, even the opportunity to do meaningful work. I realized I wasn't missing as much as I thought. I already had so much. That's the power of gratitude. It shifts the way you see the world. And gratitude naturally connects you to purpose. When you stop to recognize what you've been given, you begin to ask, what am I here to give in return? That's purpose. Gratitude opens the heart, and purpose directs the heart. Without purpose, life feels heavy. Every task feels like a burden. Every challenge feels like punishment. But with purpose, even hard work feels lighter because you know it matters. This is why beginning the day with gratitude and purpose is so powerful. It gives you perspective. It reminds you that you're not just running through a checklist. You're building a life. It reminds you that the small actions of today are connected to something bigger tomorrow. It reminds you that life isn't just about surviving. It's about contributing, creating, serving, and leaving something behind. And it doesn't take long, just a few quiet minutes. Sit down, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I grateful for? And what is my purpose today? Not 10 years from now, not 5 years from now, today. What will I stand for? Who will I serve? What will I contribute? Do that, and you'll walk into the day with more energy, more joy, and more determination than any cup of coffee could ever give you. Gratitude also builds resilience. When the day doesn't go your way, when plans fall apart, when setbacks come, gratitude reminds you there's still something to hold on to. It's the anchor in the storm. Without it, you can drown in frustration. With it, you rise above. And purpose, it pulls you forward. Purpose makes the pain worth enduring, the challenges worth facing, the discipline worth practicing. Without purpose, life feels like a grind. With purpose, even the grind feels like progress. That's why the combination of gratitude and purpose is so life-changing. One opens your eyes, the other directs your steps. So tomorrow morning, before you run into the day, pause. Think about what you already have and think about what you're here to do. Because when you begin the day with gratitude and purpose, you don't just live another day, you live a meaningful one.